think anyone who says they can do anything 100%, you should not listen to, because it's hit or miss. If you start a TikTok account and you have like a good idea and something that has potential to go viral, yeah, maybe if you post the exact same video 100 times to that TikTok account, one of the videos might pop, sure. And then maybe you just went viral, but can you do it again? Can you do it 100 times? Can you do it 1,000 times? And that's really where someone who claims to go viral, it's like, can you repeat it? That's really where a sustained career is, and that's how you develop a brand.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the 1% Podcast. I'm your host, Vin End.
And I'm Shane.
And today we're joined by hopefully our new friend, Caleb Simpson. What's up, man? Welcome to the show.
What's going on, Vin? What's going on, Shane?
Good to have you here, dude. I'm super excited to jump into your story with you. For those of you that don't know who Caleb is, well, he's basically this generation's MTV Cribs. And I'll let him tell you what that's all about. So, Caleb, please, my man, tell the listeners and everybody out there who you are, what you're up to, and how you're doing it.
So maybe you guys have heard the phrase, how much do you pay for rent in New York? And can I have a tour of your home? You've probably seen that on social media. So I pretty much recreated MTV Cribs on social media in the short form era that we're in right now on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, X, Snapchat. They got a video platform. I'm probably over there. So content creator, host, just recreating old TV shows and putting them online.
What was your, it's an interesting thing, right? So you just walk around, you ask people, how much do they pay for rent? It's kind of like the dude with a car, right? Like, oh, this is a sick car. What do you do for a living? I'm always curious, like, where do you guys get these ideas to just start asking people, like, how much do you pay with rent or this or that? Like, what was the spark for this?
Yeah, people do ask me that question all the time. I think it really boils down to just like skin in the game. I've been making content online for about 10 years. YouTube videos, Instagram videos. I help YouTubers, Instagrammers, lots of experimentation. I've tried all sorts of different kinds of videos. So you're always just like testing out ideas and seeing what works and trying it out. So really this sort of man on the street craze was happening, especially in New York City. And I was just kind of looking at those videos. I was like, this is interesting. But even the guy who's like, what do you do for a living? And then they just kind of answer. I was like, oh, I want more. Like, what's going on with these people's lives? Like the quick answer is fun, but there's probably more depth to it, a little bit more substance. So that's kind of where I got the idea from, where it's like, well, how much do you pay for rent in New York? That was kind of like a trend that was going on online. And I thought it would be interesting to see this person's home. Like when you walk around New York, you're always looking up at every building, like what's going on in there. And when you go into someone's apartment in New York specifically, you kind of are like, yo, how much do you pay for this place? Like, what's your rent? That's like always a big topic of conversation. So that's kind of where I had the light bulb idea. And, I just went and tried it like I've done for years, and it just popped off overnight. And it's like, oh, this is what I'm doing now. This is working. Like,
so wait, hold your thought, Shane. This is very important. As a fellow New Yorker, I know we're all skeptical. Somebody comes up to us and they're like, hey, how much you pay for rent? I'll be like, bro, why you want to know? Are you trying to buy my house? Like, you want to pay my bill next month? That's usually the response I think I'd give. So I'm curious.
This is the response right here.
Yeah. So how do you overcome the New York streets? I mean, obviously now you're a big enough brand that people will be like, holy shit, he's asking me my rent. But when you first started going, what was maybe one of the craziest rejections you've had in trying to overcome that New York attitude?
Oh, I mean, any New York attitude. Yeah. If you're trying to talk to anybody in the streets of New York City, if you get a word out of them, I call that a win. Like if they even like look your direction, you're like, oh my God, they're paying attention to what I just said. This is nuts. So, I mean, yeah, the rejection game is up there, but also, I mean, people want to participate and play. It's just about like a numbers game. I think what's fun about New York City too is that there's so many people and it's just kind of like always moving that you can just keep asking people over and over and over, and it doesn't necessarily feel like stagnant or slow like it might be in another city, where there might be like 20 people in a park and you go talk to 3 people. Everybody denies you, and then collectively everyone's going to like shun you from being able to do that, which is kind of just like a social thing that happens, which I've noticed when I was out asking people this question. Sometimes if a bunch of people didn't give me time of day, everybody else would start just completely ignoring me because they're like, oh, socially, these people ignored Caleb, so I'm not going to give him any time of day. So I just leave that area and go try somewhere else because I was like, well, I'm not accepted here. Let me go try somewhere else. But to answer your question, just like, F you, hell no, what the hell are you talking about? Like, seriously, dude, like, what are you talking about? Get out of my face. A lot of that stuff.
I'm just curious now, how much of it is you prospecting compared to people slide in your DMs and be like, yo, you got to check out my place? Like, is any of it actually set up and you're like, I pay $50,000 in rent and I want to show off my house? Like, I'm assuming you got people coming to you and be like, and it's all set up, right? Their house is all clean. It looks nice. I think I saw one guy who was an artist who was paying like 20,000. It was either collectively for rent or something like that on your Instagram. And it just looks so nice. I'm like, there's no way this guy's living in it. It's just immaculate condition. So do you have like set up appointments or is this like all just prospecting like you're saying?
Yeah. Well, doing this series, I realized like everyone just must be disgusting because that's always the comments. Like, no one's house is this clean. So I'm like, is everybody living in filth? Like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, no one cleans their house. Like, no one makes their bed in the morning. I don't know. So the series definitely started off 100% me asking people on the streets of New York City. And just from a challenge perspective and from a marketing perspective, I thought, oh, if I could do it this way, it might get spoken about a lot more. At the moment, I still do hit the streets sometimes and just ask people randomly. And then some of it's produced for sure. Like friends of friends might be like, go to this house, celebrities, publicist, or, I'm talking to the publicist. I'm not necessarily talking to a celebrity. So some of it is pre-planned. Also, yeah, it's kind of gotten to a point where I want to like vet it a little bit. Be like, okay, what's this house like? What's this person's like? Because the opportunity is kind of endless. So I want to make the best content I can make at this point. But also on the other side, it is fun to just go hit the street sometimes, surprise somebody, surprise myself, and surprise the audience, which I think that's why the series works, is because of those three surprises.
Yeah, 100%. What's the grunge? I'm sure the grungiest stuff that you've ever seen probably goes viral, and probably the nicest things obviously go viral. Would you say, I mean, there's probably episodes that you filmed and you're like, yeah, I'm definitely not posting this one. But do you have any? Go ahead.
I've posted everything I've ever filmed except for one video.
Really? Yep. And what was that one video? Like, why didn't it make the cut?
Honestly, it's sitting in my camera roll. I think I just forgot about it. And it
okay.
It wasn't any other reason other than like me being disorganized.
Love it.
Gotcha. So what's the plan? Are you planning on hiring other people? Are you planning on going to multiple cities and traveling? Or what's the growth plan from here?
Oh man, you already just said things that have already happened, Shane.
Oh,
those things already happened. Yeah, I've gone all over the U.S., every major city. I've been to like 6 or 7 countries. Yeah, it's really just a thing of like exploration of spaces and people. My team's definitely growing. I would say the catalog is the most important thing to grow of content, and just expanding that catalog. The future of social media, I think, is just having a catalog of evergreen content that could be played forever. And I feel lucky because I'm in a space which is something I have to remind myself. I'm in a space of evergreen content. People will watch home tours forever, especially around celebrities or people they find interesting or important, versus like a lot of other content creation of videos made like a meme or a dance or something. And that's only going to live once.
That's an interesting concept. So it sounds like you know a lot about social. You got into it, I'm assuming, at a relatively early stage, because you did say you've always been doing social media. Why is that? Like, what was a little bit of your story? Why did you choose social media out of all the things you could do?
YouTubers just seemed like they were having a fun time, whether they were or weren't. It seemed like a good time. Also, you just like, whether it was true or not, you see Lamborghinis and you see big houses and you see a lot of numbers and you see people going exploring and traveling. And I just thought in my head, man, if I could just pick up a camera and put a video on YouTube and like laugh and have fun with my friends, because this is what it seems like people are doing, I could have a life like that. That seems cool. So that was just a general like jumping off area for me, but it took a lot of years for me to buckle down and try, because I tried a couple times in high school, a couple times in college, and really didn't just have like the fortitude to learn the skills needed. It wasn't until I moved to New York City where I didn't know anybody, and then I picked up a camera and I was like, I'm going to go for this. I'm going to try it. And at that time, hardly anyone, there was like people who watched YouTube. I'm putting up air quotations right now. And they were like nerds. It was like, oh yeah, I watch my YouTuber. And they're like, everyone's like, what are you talking about? You watch a vlogger? Like you watch somebody's life on YouTube? I'm like, yeah, it's cool. Like what? So I just had years and years of experimenting and watching other people and talking with people and working with people on social media, sort of videos and concepts and ideas. And I worked at 2 startups doing all their social media. I worked with like a travel Instagrammer traveling the world doing all their content. So I really developed my skills within all these kind of like hyper growth environments. Especially when you're on the road traveling every day, like you got to take pictures, make videos, create edits and give them to somebody. And then at a startup, like anyone who works at a startup knows that that's like you deliver results or you're fired pretty much. So it's kind of like that every day, like I need to figure this out. So all those skills really helped me once I popped off myself because I just had all this like backlog of work ethic.
Interesting.
Do you think that mentality still applies? Pick up a camera and go do something, right? 2025. Like, what advice would you give somebody that wants to be in your position? Like, is it still just go out and do it? Like you said, you've tried it a couple of times in college, so learn skill sets along the way. But is it just going out there and doing it?
Bare minimum, yes. Your skin needs to be in the game. Okay, you need to be like out experimenting, trying videos, trying a bunch of different ideas, and having fun with it. And then if something like works or doesn't work, you know which way to go. Left, right, up or down, stop completely. Really, anyone who sits around and ideates an idea, they're never gonna get anything out. They're never gonna try. Like some people will just make videos about their lives every day, and then all of a sudden are just like famous about their lives or a skill or a hobby that they really like. Or yeah, that's what I'd say. I said just pick up the camera and start doing it. Use your iPhone. I still use my iPhone, and yeah, I never knew I'd be touring people's homes. You know what I mean? Like that was the last thing I ever thought I'd become quote unquote internet famous for. But it was just a culmination of trying so many different things.
Did you have a specific, I know you said you tried a bunch of different things, right? But I could be wrong. I feel like I've tried to learn a lot about social media, and a lot of people tend to reinforce, find a strategy. There's a winning strategy. There's a way to go viral. If you were to start over from zero, right? Because you even know a lot of people in today's generation, they're all like, oh, I got to get on social, or I want to be a content creator. Everybody's trying to do it. So you had to start all over. You didn't have your brand. You're at zero. How do you start? How do you build it from the bottom up?
I'd say go do something else, man. Go do something else. If you want to be a slave to the algorithm, the comment section, the everyday video, but seriously, I might. But if I did have to start from zero, I would do exactly what I did before, which was I would take all the creators I love watching and I would take their top 10 viral videos and then I'd start breaking down why their videos work, quote unquote. Like start pinpointing the facts that you think why their videos work, whether it's their personality, whether it's their editing style, whether it's the topic they're talking about, and in those genres. So for example, if it was like photography, I'm a photographer and I want to, I don't know, become like a photography TikToker. I would go find like the top 10, 20 photographer TikTokers and see what's working for them, what's not working for them. And then maybe even blatantly copy and paste what they're doing to see if it works for you. And then maybe I would take like 4 of those creators and mix together their 4 styles. So it's like they do stuff in public. They do stuff with strangers. They do stuff with, I don't know, celebrities. They do stuff at home. How can I maybe mix all these together or do something a little bit more educational, whatever it may be. But there's a lot of formulas kind of out there already for you to mimic. They probably won't work for you, but they'll give you a nice like jumping off point.
A really interesting point. I've seen a lot of and part of the reason I'm asking you this, I've seen a lot of ads lately of a woman, and I'm not going to name anybody, but of this woman who's basically saying her strategy will make your content go viral 100% of the time. It works in any industry with any person. There's 3 touch points to follow, and she can nail it with anything. What do you think about that?
I think anyone who says they can do anything 100%, you should not listen to. Because it's hit or miss. It's going to be hit or miss. There is things in social, like if you start a TikTok account and you have like a good idea and something that has potential to go viral, yeah, maybe if you post the video, the exact same video 100 times to that TikTok account, one of the videos might pop. Sure. And then maybe you just went viral, but can you do it again? Can you do it 100 times? Can you do it 1,000 times? And that's really where someone who claims to go viral, it's like, can you repeat it? That's really where a sustained career is, and that's how you develop a brand.
I like the fact that you said you have something that's timeless, right? These home tours. I absolutely agree. I mean, even these home remodeling shows and like showing everything, there's hundreds of shows out there. So what you're doing is definitely not going to go anywhere anytime soon. So I think you definitely chose the best niche that you possibly can. I totally forgot what I was going to say, and it was so good too. Oh yeah, no, I'm generally curious because I'm not in the realm of, creating content for actual money. And I'm just generally curious if you could share anything with us about a viral video that goes on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is. What's a general threshold? Like if I get 1 million views, do I get a blanket statement that's going to pay me $1,000 or $10,000? Or can you share what that looks like?
Shane, it all varies based off of the type of content you're making. Also, the platforms are always changing their rules in a sense.
Are you saying like, sorry to interrupt, are you saying like content, like if I created like an entrepreneur video, like how to be an entrepreneur compared to home tours, that's a different compensation?
Totally. So I'll break it down. On YouTube, there's different genres of AdSense. So the highest AdSense is business and money focused. So a lot of times that might be like $70 per 1,000 views CPM. That's going to be the highest you can get. Then it's going to go all the way down to like barely anything based on the genre of content you're making. That's for YouTube specifically, but that's kind of like the golden rule because they've been around longest. They've kind of figured out AdSense the best. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all these other platforms are always experimenting with their monetization rules, and it's always changing. So it's almost like you can't even count on it, really. Like I might post a video that does 40 million views, and then I got $15,000 for it. And I was like, okay, cool. I got 15K for that. Then I post another video that did 100 million views and I made like $2,000. It's like, I don't get like what's going on here. And that's kind of like the wild, wild west of social media in terms of short form media. It's kind of all over the place and it's hard to count on. And it's hard to get 1 million views, to be honest. It is very hard to get 1 million views. So to answer your question, it's kind of all over the board from a monetary standpoint. And that should not be the only way you're making money, except for YouTube. On YouTube, if you're making long form content and you're consistently getting the same number of views, you're going to consistently get the same amount of money.
Interesting. So in business and finance, that is the top category to really be in. And if you have consistent long views, now what is considered a long view? Like somebody staying on and watching past 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour?
That depends too on how long the video is. Most things are based off of like 1 million views on YouTube. Like what 1 million views gets, like a 3-minute video, a 6-minute video, 20-minute video. If it's an hour-long video and it's 1 million views, that's going to be worth way more money than a 6-minute video.
Interesting.
So I'm assuming that because all the platforms pay differently, the requirements to even be able to get into, I believe they're called creator funds. The requirements to get into the funds is also pretty different. Like how does somebody get into that? Are they able to apply for it, or do they have to be invited? Is it an exclusive club, or is it an anyone can join club?
I wish I had an answer for you. I've been out of that game for a while because I've just had I've had millions of followers on the internet for years, so I haven't had to get into one of these programs. I know the programs are always changing. Typically there's a threshold of like you need X amount of followers, X amount of minutes watched, X amount of videos posted, and then you can get into the program. That's typically how it works.
So if I have a video that went viral and had millions and millions of views, I'm not going to get paid for that because I'm not into this? Is that what you're saying?
So when I first launched my YouTube channel, and I started going viral on there. I wasn't in the YouTube partnership program yet, and I think I had like 50 million views that were unaccounted for, which would have been like $70,000.
Damn.
Yeah. And everyone's like, my friends are like crying. They're like, dude, I can't believe you missed out on all that money. And I was like, honestly, I'm grateful I'm just going viral. Like, I know I wasn't able to get to the program, but like, there's future money to be made. And like, it's finally working. So I'm not going to complain about the money missed because there's more money to be made. Yeah.
That's
You have
wild.
one of those cool plaques. I'm assuming YouTube sends you those plaques too once you reach a certain threshold, huh?
When you hit 1 million subscribers, they will send you a gold play button plaque. But you have to go and click a button to say to get the plaque. I never did it. Mainly because I just don't want it. I have this thing in my head that I was like, I wasn't doing this to get a trophy. I don't think it's real too. And what's the plaque going to do? Will it make me stop working if I just like look at the plaque and say I did it? Like, I don't know. It's like I've never been a trophy guy. So it's like I made money and I could support myself and my family. That's trophy enough.
Oh man, the 1% of marketers right here. I fucking love it, man. That's awesome. We need a trophy to dignify anything.
Yeah.
What do you think? This is always my fun side of things. So Shane, you could just listen. But what do you think has been paramount for you mentally going on this journey? It sounds like it. I mean, you've always kind of been in it, but you started, you stopped, you've had a lot that you've really poured into this. Like, what kind of a mindset did it take for you to really get through this and to find success?
I think you have to have a delusional sort of mindset thinking it's going to work eventually and just keep hammering at it until it eventually does. Like, for example, every video I ever posted, I always thought it would go viral, and like thousands and thousands of videos never did, you know? Still I was delusional enough to think like eventually it will, eventually it will, eventually it will. And personally, I'm super grateful that it took almost 8 years for me to go viral, quote unquote, because I just learned a bunch of systems and processes and how to make content every day, even when it's not working. And that's like kind of the mindset you need. You need to be able to just like make the thing no matter what. Like no matter how you're feeling emotionally or physically, whether you just flew across the country to go like film a video and you had to edit a video on the plane to post the video when you land like in LA, New York from LA. And that's just kind of like the mindset and effort it takes. And it's way more competitive than it's ever been right now, to be completely honest. So it's like you got to be kind of crazy and grinding.
Would you consider yourself somebody that never ever wants to give up? And if so, why? Like, what's your reason? What's your why? You mentioned family, so I'm sure that's a part of it. Is there any bigger thing that you're excited about or trying to create change around?
There was a point in my life where I didn't have like a big reason or a big why, and I didn't like want it, quote unquote. Wasn't kind of until I moved to New York. That's when I just told myself I'm not leaving New York until I've made something of myself. I was like, go broke, go homeless. You can't leave. So you're either going to sit here and try over and over. Yeah. And that was just kind of it. And then as I developed my why, it was like, I'm one of 9 kids. I'm in the middle of 9 kids. I grew up on food stamps, like in complete, pretty much poverty in a sort of homeschooled environment. I didn't know much about the world at all, like in the woods of North Carolina. So coming out of that sort of environment into the world, I was like, I want to learn. I want to learn about the world and I want to support my family. That was like the biggest one. My mom, she was like working at Lowe's Hardware, you know, just like grinding for years to like give me $10. Really? Like, here's $10. I was like, holy shit, my mom just gave me $10. Like, that's nuts. You know what I mean? So that was just the biggest one. I was like, I'm tired of being broke, scared, hungry sometimes, and I have nothing to go back on. Like all my siblings have done very well for themselves, but none of them have like loads of money in the account. Like if a car blows up and it's like the account's probably drained. So honestly, it's just that. It's like I was tired of just like living in a paycheck to paycheck sort of like fearing for my life environment.
Your back's against the wall. I can't think of anything else besides you being back against the wall and just saying, what do I have to lose? Nothing. And you went out for it. You made me choke up a little bit too. Yeah, some of what you said definitely resonates with me as well. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
So you you mentioned that you do other things as well, right? Not just focusing on the money that could possibly come in from Facebook and Instagram outside of the guaranteed revenue that's coming in from YouTube. Do you do this for businesses as well? Any social content, or do you have a different entity that you do something else with?
Like consulting?
Possibly. Yeah. Or do you do this like social media for businesses? Do you do like this type of strategy or anything like this to actually go viral?
It's no. In short, no. It's something I've toyed around with in my life. I love talking about it. I think it's super fun. But it's not something I'm like out here like consulting for. I've spoken on like tons of panels. Like I give advice to a lot of people, but I haven't necessarily gone out and monetized it in a way like that.
Why?
I think in short, I just don't want to. Like,
Oh,
I think it's fun. I think it's fun to talk about it, and I think it's fun to give advice and chat with people. And honestly, like if I don't know, Nike emails me and they're like, "Hey, we'll pay you $50,000 to talk to us for an hour," I'm gonna say sure. Yeah, but I'm not seeking it out per se. It's just another part, something you have to spend time on. I'm like, I don't want to be like out here trying to make those things happen.
Mm.
So do you have some next steps that you're considering, or is the goal to continue? I know that you said this is like a lifelong possibility where you could always see people's homes. I don't disagree. But do you have any desires of an expansion, different arms, different wings of your business? Like, how do you see yourself progressing? Or is it just doing the same thing you're doing at different capacity?
So how I consider myself a host. So I host this home tour show. And I believe just building out the home tour show and the home tour network is my primary focus at the moment, and just becoming the best entertainer I can become. I feel like a lot of my life was just focused on making the content and trying to go viral. And now I've done that and built a brand for myself. And now I'm like reverse engineering being the best entertainer I can be. So like, as long as I'm the best entertainer I can be and make the best content I can make, then I think I'll have a very long career. 'Cause that's the biggest eye-opening thing when I started making content with really amazing entertainers. It's like they're just on the ball, like big time, and they're just so good and so witty, and that's in demand. So I'm like, to be in demand, I have to be the best entertainer I can be and go as viral as I can go.
Interesting. So what does that look like for you? I've obviously for the listeners, maybe some new people, and maybe for you, Caleb, if you don't know fully, as a mental performance coach and a therapist, I know that there are a lot of people, especially when it comes to entertainment, that we create these alternate identities, right? Like I think it's Beyonce has Sasha Fierce, and there's all these different types of ways that we show up. And I can even say, talking to you here right now, you're a very cool, well-mannered, calm, collected guy. And then I've watched some of your videos and you're like, I'm going to jump in your bed. And I'm like, whoa. And so yeah. I'm curious, do you have a bit of that yourself? Are you a little bit different in person and then in the entertainment side? Like, how do you navigate that?
That's a very good question. I've toyed around with creating sort of an alter ego. I mean, I think when the camera turns on, of course, I'm going to turn it up a little bit. I'm going to be a little bit more silly. Like, you are there to entertain, like plain and simple. So I can't be quiet and not do anything fun or silly, because that's not going to be entertaining. But if I'm just sitting at home, I'm probably not doing that stuff, to be completely honest. But really, I've just like the advice I would give for someone starting social media, I give that same advice for me, for entertainers. So I go and look at who are the greatest hosts of right now, and what are they doing and what have they done in their career? Let me deconstruct it and start basically copying what they did, because there's a reason why they're so good at what they do. So like Mario Lopez, Ryan Seacrest, anyone at any of those networks that they're on, Howie Mandel. Why is he such a great host? Why is he doing all these television shows? What's his background? And then you just like start deep diving into why they're so great, or what opportunities they had, or how much time they're practicing, really. And it seems like most really great hosts come from a comedy background, actually, because they are on stage coming up with material. They're not scared to talk in front of anybody about anything. And that kind of shocked me. That was like, oh, I didn't realize most people are comics. You didn't even know they were comics, but they did comedy for 10 years. Ryan Seacrest, for example, he he just like jumped on it like early and had a show and just is considered one of the hardest working, hosts in entertainment. He just is like a workhorse and is always out there just crushing it. So that's just kind of what I've been doing. I was like, let me deconstruct what other people's careers are and get reps in.
I remember when Ryan Seacrest, and this was back when he was hosting American Idol, he had and for those that don't know Ryan Seacrest too well, I'm from California, so it was pretty much Ryan Seacrest-esque. You're out. Seacrest fans, you're out. That's an old school reference for California radio shows. Seems like Caleb's in reference of California radio. Anyways, he was a radio show host. He was a TV show host, I think for 2 different ones. And he was doing American Idol. 4 jobs when this guy didn't even need to. Success driven, not financially driven. Everything you're saying is the American way, my friend. You're taking what's already working as far as, going viral or people who are succeeding, and you're emulating that. Mm-hmm. That's what you do. I love it.
That's what you have to do. And then you just pick and choose what works best for you. Like, for example, I did improv for like a year, and then I started doing stand-up. And then I just started breaking it down in terms of like time commitment, how many reps I can get in. Maybe I have more fun with one or the other, but this one's more realistic. I'm going with that. I'm going with this. It's more realistic. I can get more reps in and practice more. So it's experimenting, just like you would do with creating videos. And it's painstaking and it's time consuming and it's uncomfortable, super uncomfortable. But ultimately, it helps the overarching goal.
I heard it's great for confidence too, especially the improv as well. I've never personally been, but can you speak on gaining the confidence and actually going to improv? Is that something that you were recommended early on, or how did you make that connection with just improv specifically?
Oh man, once you start getting in the industry a little bit, I've made some good friends and some good mentors, and they'll just like sit me down blank face and tell me, Will Smith has an acting coach, Caleb. You know who Will Smith is? It's like, yeah, I know who Will Smith is. He's like, he has an acting coach, Caleb. You think you're better than Will Smith? It's like, no. And then they just start pointing to all these people who have like had these same moments in my life, or that I've had in my career that they had, and their preparedness or unpreparedness. And I was like, here's all these case studies. Do you want to be like them? You want to be like this person? You want to be like that person? What are you going to do? It's like, oh, crap. Do I want to stay right here, or do I want to continue to improve as an entertainer? So luckily, I've had people to just point that out to me. And I just took the advice and started going.
I love it, too, because I don't know if you know it or not, but there's a good bit of psychology in a lot of the things you're talking about. Like, for instance, what you're mentioning about seeing somebody who's getting the result and then figuring out what they did and reverse engineering it, right? Like we call that mirroring. It's a very common tactic. I'm just curious, you deal with so many people so often. So I'm wondering, do you have some deeper knowledge of psychology and how people operate? Do you use that to your advantage? Because it seems like you know a lot, either intentionally or unintentionally. So I'm definitely curious on that.
That's a good question. So because I was homeschooled and I kind of grew up in like a Christian family, secluded, kind of just like went to Boy Scouts and church and was at home, I kind of had this curiosity of humans in general. And then how do you communicate with them? I wasn't thrown into like public school like most kids were, where you're like forced to be with kids all the time. So it was kind of like every interaction I had since I was a little kid, I was very observant about how the social interaction went and like how could I improve and be better at it. So since I was a little kid, I've kind of been forced to do that. So I think it was just through trial and error. And then the home tour series is that on steroids, like going into somebody's house, a new person's house every day. How do you navigate that experience? How do you allow them to be as comfortable as they can become as quickly as possible, so they're just themselves in the video? And to be honest, just being non-judgmental and mirroring people is, I think, the quickest way to allowing somebody to feel comfortable and with themselves. That's why you won't see me kind of step out of line with anybody in my videos. I'm always mirroring what they're doing. If they want to play at a higher level of like ridiculousness and comedy, then I will. If they want to just like step down and be pretty serious, then I'll be serious.
I love that for you, man. So you basically have become a silent master of psychology in your pursuit of building this. Now, you know what? This is like a very businessy podcast, and I love hearing about how you've done these things. But I'm curious now. You've piqued my interest. My desire is to homeschool my daughter. You're somebody who's homeschooled. What's your thought on that? 2, 4, against? What do you got?
Ooh, great question. I think my scenario is like very different than most because my parents homeschooled me for very odd reasons, like very religious reasons. I think they wanted to like keep us in a unit and not expose us to the world for their own personal views to like put on us. So I don't think my experience is a good reason, but from what I've seen, I think like obviously if they have a goal they're trying to achieve, I think it's great. I've heard arguments like, public school is kind of a waste of time. You can really compact everything into probably 4 hours and then have all this like life left to have with your kid or whatever it may be. And you can socialize kids a different way. Yeah, that's what I've seen. And I knew a bunch of homeschool kids, and then a lot of them went to public school when they got a little bit older because they wanted to play sports. They wanted to date girls or boys or whoever it was, which is hard to do when you're homeschooled. And they just wanted to fit in and feel like a part of the crowd. But I guess my advice would be just listen to your kid. Like if they want to go to public school, it's like, okay, go to public school. That's what you want to do. Cool.
Very interesting take. I think about it a lot because I do want to give my daughter an amazing life, but I also wonder what that actually looks like because you hear so much, and I think especially in society. I grew up. I didn't go homeschool. Right. I was in public school. I got bullied a lot. My story is, man, it was a horrible time for me. However, that's not the thought. The thought is I want my daughter to be an entrepreneur. I want to take her traveling. I want to do all these cool things. And so I think there's that desire to give her everything, but also make sure that I'm giving her the right thing. So definitely very interesting. And I appreciate your perspective on that for sure.
Definitely.
Caleb, we're getting a little bit close to the end here. And I would love to ask you our final 2 questions. And the first one is this. We started the 1% podcast, not with the ideology that you have to be a billionaire to be a 1%, more so with the view that being a 1%er is a way of life. It's about how you show up. It's about how do you try to excel, or how are you pushing to excel in one area in a very powerful way that differentiates you from the rest. So what would your version of a 1% lifestyle look like for you?
My version of a 1% lifestyle, what would that look like? I think most importantly, it's wherever your physical and mental condition is, that's where all your reality lies. As someone who had no money, who's made a bunch of money now, I realize like my physical and mental condition is like number 1. And whatever you need to do to focus on that, you'll be fine. And you'll be in the 1%. Because to be honest, like I'm pretty aggressive about like my physical and mental well-being. And I don't know that many people who are. And they're always like, they like kind of look at me funny. And I'm just like, I know you feel like shit because I used to act like you mentally in your brain right now. And I would rather go like have this little bit of pain for 30 or 45 minutes than to like go through this mental turmoil that you're in right now.
I love
you know what I mean?
Can you, typically we don't have a follow-up question on this one, but can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because listen, man, mental performance coach, former personal trainer, I'm a big fan of that, but tell the listeners a little bit of like, what's your thought? How can they do that?
I mean, how can you do it?
Yeah.
I mean,
what's helped you?
Yeah. What's helped me? I mean, just getting in a routine of physical conditioning. 1, just doing something every day and making that a priority. And then 2, once you start doing that, just giving your mind time to breathe and think. So whether that's going for a walk or shutting off all your electronics to just sit in silence, like you don't have to meditate or anything like that. You just need to not be distracted and have like one thing to focus on and not like 50 things. And then just write a little bit, write how you're feeling and what's going on. And then that will just like clear up a lot of the haziness going on in your brain. And these things are challenging and hard to do, but once you feel good physically and then you feel good mentally, the rest will just happen naturally.
I love it. I thought of another question, so I have 2 more questions for you. Aside from being told that Will Smith has a coach and you're not better than him, what is What is one of the best pieces of advice you've ever received? Could be from a mentor, a friend, your parent, whoever. I'm just curious.
Yeah, two things pop into my head. One, my college girlfriend had broken up with me. I was like home from college, just like kind of sad, sitting out in the yard in North Carolina in the middle of the day, just thinking. And me and my dad did not have a good relationship at all, but this one always stuck with me. He just like kind of walked out and put his hand on my shoulder, and he just looked at me and he said, "Caleb, make your life what you want it to be." And I always mulled that over because it's like a physical action. And then when I was creating things, a two-part, I was asking a YouTuber some advice, and he said, "Make something you want to see." And I was like, whoa, yeah, what do I want to see? What's out there that's like not out there that would be interesting to watch? So those two pieces of advice have really like helped navigate my life.
I love those. Those are great. So all you guys listening, I think you should ask yourself those questions. Sit with it for a little, journal on it, and get your mental fitness in check. So last question for you, my man. What's the best way for people to, I guess, get in touch with you, continue to consume your content? Is there anything that people can do to engage with you aside from check out your socials? Like, shout yourself out. Please let people know how they could start being a part of your universe.
Yeah, I mean, just go check me out on socials at Caleb W. Simpson at pretty much everywhere. Everything else that's happening, I can't really say at the moment, but there should be exciting things happening this year.
All right,
mystery.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to see it. I'm already following you. I know Shane probably is, and I'm really looking forward to seeing those updates. And of course, when you're in New York, I live in Staten Island, so you probably don't need or want a tour of my home, but I'm happy to come hang out and grab lunch with you. So listen, man, stick around for about a minute after the show. We'll do a quick debrief. Thanks so much for coming on. Guys, you heard it here. You got to check him out. If you haven't already heard of him, I'd be surprised because he is viral. But if you haven't, now he's even more viral. Go check him out. Go consume the content and see some really cool homes. So as always, thank you guys for listening. Like, follow, share, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you thought of the episode and tune in for the next awesome entrepreneur, business owner, whoever we got coming on. I'm your host, Vin, and
I'm Shane.
that was Caleb. See you, everybody.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.